How much to keep in savings versus invest? I'm sure we've all asked ourselves this question at one point. How much money should we really be keeping in our savings account versus investing it? I'm going to share my simple process on how I figure out exactly how much to keep in my savings and how much money to invest. I am Tiffany Thomas, a financially free millionaire. If you're looking to become one of those, make sure and hit that like button and hit the subscribe button, and we are going to dive right in. All right, so you probably have a savings account already set up. You know that you should be putting money in your savings account, and you probably are, but you're not sure on exactly how much money to continue to put in your savings account, because you also know that you should be investing your money as well. And maybe you've been saving your money and you continue to think, I know I should be investing this money, but maybe I'll just save a little bit more, and then you keep saving a little bit more, and then that little bit turns into a lot because you aren't sure on how to invest or how much you really should be investing, because you do want to keep some money in your savings account. And if you're thinking you know you should invest, but you're not sure how to do that, I do have a free Facebook group. It's called Investors to Seven Figures. I'll leave a link below in the description. Make sure and join that group so we can talk about how to get your money invested. But anyway, maybe you're thinking, okay, I want to have an emergency fund, but I also want to save up for a down payment on a house or a rental property, or even just save up to take a trip to Italy or Hawaii or somewhere fun. There's just other things that you want to be saving for. I'm going to cover exactly how much you should keep in your savings account for an emergency fund, and then we will also talk about how to save for a down payment on a house or a trip that you want to take, or maybe a car that you want to buy, some specific savings goal. The first step that you want to take is to figure out your essential expenses. I'm not talking about your income or all of your expenses, everything you're spending your money on, like an Amazon Prime membership or a gym membership, or maybe more than one gym membership, or eating out every day. I want you to figure out what your essential expenses are. This would include things like your rent payment, your utilities, food that keeps you alive, not necessarily going out to eat for every meal, just the bare necessities. And for this example today, let's just say that is $2,500 a month. Figure out what that would be for your situation and write that number down. And then the second thing that we are going to do, the second step, is to figure out which type of emergencies could come up for ourselves and how much they could cost us. For example, if we were to get in a car accident, we would probably have to pay our insurance deductible for our car insurance. So that could be one emergency. Or if we had to go to the hospital for some reason, we would have to pay our health insurance deductible. That could be another emergency cost. Or if you own properties like I do, there could be a furnace that goes out and that would need to be replaced, or an air conditioner or a water heater, things like that. Once you've made a list of these different emergencies that could come up and the cost that would be associated with that, I want you to total up that amount. And then I want you to realize, of course, most likely not all of these emergencies are going to happen within the same month. If there's 10 different emergencies you've listed out, maybe 3 would happen in the same month, maybe. Figure out what you think could be possible, and it's not worst case scenario and it's not best case scenario, it's somewhere in the middle. Figure out the average that it would cost if 1 or 2 of these emergencies came up in 1 month. For this example today, we're going to use $5,000. Now we could just leave it at that and take our essential expenses every month and decide how many months we want to have in our savings account for our essential expenses, and then add the emergencies that might come up to that amount, and that would be our total amount we would have in our savings account. For example, if we wanted to have 3 months worth of our expenses on hand, that would be $2,500 times 3, and then we would add in $5,000 for our emergencies. So the total would be $12,500. But that's not where we are going to stop today. We are going to add an extra step, because we know, if you've watched any of my videos, that if we are investing our money, that our money will grow exponentially. If we are leaving our money sitting in a savings account, it is not going to grow nearly as fast as if we've invested it. Here's what I want you to do now. I want you to think of different ways that you have access to cash. And I will give you a few examples. Maybe you have a credit card that you could put a purchase on and then pay that off within about 30 days, whatever that 0% interest rate would be. Or maybe you have good credit, you can open up a new credit card and get it with a 0% interest rate for 12 months or 18 months. You could have access to cash that way that you could pay off over time with a 0% interest rate. Or you could even call one of your current credit card companies and ask them to give you a 0% interest rate for 12 months. This is exactly what I did with my Discover It card. I was making a big purchase. I was redoing the flooring in 2 of my properties actually, and I wanted to just have a little bit extra time to pay that off. So I called my Discover card company and asked if they would give me a 0% interest rate, that I was making a large purchase, and they said yes. So I was able to purchase that flooring and pay it off over 12 months with a 0% interest rate. That could be an option for you as well. Or do you have a home and maybe you have a home equity line of credit that you have access to? Or just a line of credit on your checking account. Or if you're a business owner, maybe you could offer an extra package. For example, if you do coaching, you could do a 5-hour intensive and charge a higher price for that and make a little bit extra money in 1 month. Or if you have a 9-to-5, maybe there's an option for you to work some overtime. Or perhaps you have invested a little bit of money and you could pull that money out. Or you could call maybe your home insurance provider or your car insurance provider and ask them if you could have a delay in making your payment for a month. There's quite a few different options that we could have access to cash within 30 days if we needed to. And yes, some of these things like a home equity line of credit would charge interest, but if we are thinking in the long term, if we can have more money invested and less money sitting in our savings account, we are earning more than we would be paying in interest on some of these ways to get access to cash. The stock market returns about 10% over time. So if there is an interest rate that you have maybe on a line of credit that's 8% or even lower, then that would be lower than the 10% you would be earning on your money by investing it. All right, so after you think of all of the different ways that you could have access to cash, I want you to write down the amount that you would have access to. For today's example, we are going to use $10,000. And the reason I want you to think of it in this way is because it is so important that we are investing our money as early as possible and as much as possible. I want you to change your mindset of just thinking, I'm safe if I leave all of my money or the majority of my money in a savings account, because that is not safe. It is not even keeping up with inflation. It is not going to grow your money fast enough. And even if it is growing your money a little bit, you're not going to be able to live off of that money because that interest rate is so low in a savings account. Since we are using $10,000 that we could get access to, that means our original amount of $12,500 for an emergency fund, we could put that down to $2,500. Of course, I want you to think about the gains that we can get by investing our money, but on the flip side of that, I also want you to be able to sleep at night. We don't want to just have, $500 in our savings account. If we have multiple properties and there's lots of emergencies that could come up, we probably wouldn't be able to sleep at night. So we want to feel comfortable in sleeping at night, but we want to invest as much money as possible. And I want to show you a quick example of how much money we could be making if we are investing our money. So I just took the initial $10,000 that we could invest and put it at a 10% rate of return and then just put 5 years in here. So in 5 years, by just having the $10,000, not adding anything extra ourselves, we would be at $16,453. And if we were to leave that $10,000 sitting in a savings account earning 1% interest over 5 years, that's only going to give us $10,512. You can see the drastic difference if we are investing our money. And just think, if we were adding extra money every single month to that amount, how much more it would grow. That is how we figure out how much we need to have in an emergency fund. And don't go away yet, because I'm going to talk about if we want to save for something else. But comment below and tell me if this made sense so far. So just to do a quick recap, we are going to take a look at our essential expenses and write that number down. And then we're going to think about any emergency that might come up and think, okay, how many of these emergencies would really happen within 1 month? And we're going to write that number down. And then we're going to decide how many months we want of our essential expenses so that you can sleep at night, but also invest as much money as possible. And then you will add that essential expenses amount for how many ever months you want to the cost of any emergency that could come up. And then you're going to think about different ways that you have access to cash and subtract out the cash amount that you could have access to. And that is going to give you your emergency fund number. Once you have your emergency fund number, if you want to save for something else, then you can add to that amount. For example, if you want to save for a down payment on a house, then what I would do is still invest a certain percentage of my money in the stock market and then save the other percentage for a down payment on a house. And honestly, you could just do 50% and 50% and keep it really easy. But if you're thinking, oh, I really want to buy a house this year, then maybe you want to increase the amount that you would save for a down payment. So you could take 70% of that money, put it in a savings account for your down payment, and then take the 30% and invest that in the stock market so you can continue to grow your money. And this could also be if you wanted to save up for a trip to Italy or to Paris. Then you would figure out the exact amount it would take for the trip and start splitting your money, your extra money, and putting a certain percentage toward the trip amount and then still invest a certain percentage in the stock market. When you're doing this, I want you to think about what your end goal really is. Do you want financial freedom as soon as possible? Or do you not mind waiting a little bit longer and taking a vacation? It's really about you and what your priorities are. But I really want you to think about the cost of whatever it is that you're purchasing now could be sacrificing the dreams that you really want to achieve. And one of the reasons that I would continue to invest in the stock market, at least a certain percentage while I'm saving up for something else, is because you can take that money out of the stock market if you're investing in certain types of investment accounts. I have another video all about a brokerage account. I will leave a link to that above. And then also a Roth IRA, you can take out your contributions, and I have a video about that as well. So I'll leave a link to that above. But that way you can still invest your money and make it grow. But if you do want to buy a house, buy a rental property, you could take some of that money out of the stock market and switch it over to a real estate investment, which is exactly what I did. That's how I bought my 4th property. I took money from my Roth IRA and my brokerage account and put that toward my down payment. All right, now we should know how much money to keep in our savings versus our investments. And if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and share it with someone else who would like to hear this information. And hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to the little bell to get notified on when I post new videos. And if you want to see even more content from me, make sure and check out the videos on the side of the screen. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.